You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Keith Schaefer, editor and publisher of the Oil and Gas Investments Bulletin, the website oilandgas-investments.com. Welcome to the show, Keith.
Morning, Jim.
You said natural gases, at least in one hub, are now into negative prices, and that plays into my question. The BC government has signed a 25-year deal outlining taxes and royalties with Petronas for natural gas, and I asked, is that a good deal for the government? And you had kind of an explanation that includes that and negative gas prices.
Well, Jim, I think I don't know off the top of my head what those numbers are and what the royalty terms are, and frankly, I don't care. It's not really going to impact how I live my life or do my investments. But I think what's important for people to understand is that, of course, energy is cyclical. Oil and gas prices go up and down over time. But right now, we're looking like we're going to go into an extended down period. And if Petronas wants to come in here and spend $30 billion up in Rupert Kitimat area to put in a massive LNG plant, as long as, like I say, they've got to meet all the environmental approvals and they've got to make sure First Nations are on board, yada, yada, yada. But on the economics, I would tell people who might think, oh, we didn't get that great a deal, we're just giving away the farm. Look, folks, there might not be any employment up there. And I mean across the entire northern and western part of this province for a decade if we don't get something going there. Like, energy prices are very low. There's no profitability. People are being laid off left, right, and center. Same thing with the oil sector. Now, God knows, Jim, like I said, the energy sector is volatile. At some point in time, gas prices are going to come back, and things will pick up again. But right now, when gas prices go negative in Canada at one of the hubs, that's just not a good sign. And employment is going to take a big, big hit. Like just literally this week, we saw the Bank of Canada reduce rates to almost zero again, simply because the energy sector is back on its heels. So we need this LNG terminal, and so I'm not sure, like I say, what the royalty rates are, but I'd be telling everybody, just pass it. As long as they meet their environmental approvals, when it comes to the economics, just pass it, and let's get some employment guaranteed here for a while, because there isn't going to be any the way energy prices are right now.
Well, isn't employment the key anyway? Because they'll be paying taxes, they'll be buying services and goods, helping the consumer economy grow. Yeah,
so to me, it's much more important to make sure these guys buy local as much as possible and hire local as much as possible. You know, whenever you've got these big mega projects, you've got U.S. and other big corps like Bechtel and Fleur Daniel, right, that can bring in both a lot of materials and people from overseas, and that will be necessary to get that kind of scale project done on time and on budget. But as much as possible, you've got to be getting these guys to buy local and hire local.
We'll have more with Keith Schaefer right after this.
More and more people are looking to the internet for intelligent, riveting, and thought-provoking interviews. To advertise on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com, call 604-699-8600, 604-699-8600.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Keith Schaefer, editor and publisher of the Oil and Gas Investments Bulletin. Keith, what's happening with the price of crude? Some people have told me it could hit the low 40s, maybe even high 30s.
Well, the thing that we got to remember here, Jim, is that no one makes money at those prices. So when people end up buying oil at that price, someone's taken a big, big loss. So that can only last for so long. You have to pay for that either through debt or you have to absorb that loss somewhere in your system. The small guys, they can't do that. And so it's really going to put a big pain on a lot of the small producers in North America. But what I see happening right now is that Canada has been one of the big reasons that U.S. and North American oil prices are low. We're actually one of the biggest increases in oil production around the world. We account for about 20% of the oil production increases in the last 3 years. So that's a lot. And almost all that oil, Jim, goes down to the States, into Cushing, Oklahoma, the main U.S. oil storage hub, or down to the Gulf Coast. And the WTI price is set at Cushing, so when their inventories go up, the price goes down. Simple economics. And what we're seeing right now is a new torrent, a flood of Canadian oil that has been offline because of forest fires and refinery maintenance start heading back to the States. So I think over the next 3 months you could still see those inventory levels get really high and the price of WTI get really low, especially in the shoulder season, what we call the shoulder season, which is generally spring and fall. In summer you've got the big driving phenomenon to boost demand, and in winter you've got the heating. But in those shoulder seasons, demand really falls off and production is still increasing. So it's going to be a conundrum. I really think we're probably set for at least sometime early fall for potentially quite a big price drop.
What about the Iran factor? It seems they're going to come to agreement, and how much oil are they going to put on the market?
Well, if this agreement passes as it looks, the consensus opinion is that you'll see about 500,000 barrels a day come on within the next 12 months, which on 92 million isn't a whole lot, 92 million barrels of global supply. But the reality is, Jim, a very small difference in economics makes a huge difference in price. And if that tips the scale, then it'll be another feather in the cap for the bears, thinking that oil prices are going lower.
Can Canada's economy survive if oil prices continue low for a long time? Or will we just learn to diversify?
Well, a couple things will happen, Jim. Our cost structure is going to come way down, right? Like, there were guys in the field in Alberta for the last 2 or 3 years getting paid as much as the CEO. Like, qualified field guys who really knew their stuff were at a premium. And now a lot of them have made so much money they're just going to retire. And so when this sector comes back, I don't know whether that talent's going to be there. So really what we're talking about is we're going from an industry where guys were making $200,000 to $400,000 without a lot of experience or education down to more realistic $50,000 to $60,000. And that's going to be a 2 to 3 year process that's going to be just painful for the Western Canadian economy. But of course, all that cheap crude should be very good for Central Canada, because our dollar has really risen and fallen with oil in the last little while. The world's market has decided that we are the ultimate petrocurrency, so our loonie goes up and down with the price of oil. And with this low oil price, of course, our dollar goes way down, which is great for all the manufacturing businesses in Ontario and Quebec.
Right, and when you were saying high-paid jobs, the operators of those mega-sized dump trucks make $200,000 a year. Well, Suncor has now ordered dozens of those trucks that can be run by robots.
Yeah, I'm not sure that robots are really going to reduce employment, because someone's got to look after all that electronics, someone's got to monitor all that electronics. So, I just don't know whether that's going to be less employment or not. But certainly for the lower skilled guys, yeah, it's going to make it way more difficult.
What about the consumer? Are they going to benefit at the pumps? Because I look at the Vancouver area where we're still paying very high prices, even though the crude oil price is low.
Right, but the thing we got to remember too, Jim, is that for the producers, the low Canadian dollar is great. That allows them to make money, but for the consumer, it really hides the price of oil. So even though oil's come down quite a bit, because our dollar's come down quite a bit, it's more expensive at the pump. So the dollar has eaten up, probably close to 30-40% of the price drop in oil. So that's one of the reasons, and I've talked about this a few times, between higher taxes, particularly here in Vancouver with the municipal tax, refinery maintenance up and down the West Coast being a lot tighter, and the Canadian dollar. Yeah, we're only paying 10% less for gas than we were when oil was almost double the price it is today.
And that's because we pay for it in American dollars.
Everybody pays for oil in American dollars.
Keith, is there anything else that people should be aware of right now in the oil and gas sector?
Well, I just think, Jim, particularly for investors, it's time to be very cautious, because things are changing so rapidly right now that the numbers that are coming out from all the government reporting agencies are being shown to be if not outright wrong, then have a wide margin of error. You know, the American Statistical Group, the Energy Information Administration, or the EIA, no one really trusts their numbers anymore on U.S. production because everybody thinks that production is dropping, and they're showing it's still rising. So it's a time just to be very careful with your investments in the energy patch. So that's I think you can still go invest, but you have to be quite a bit more cautious because the numbers that we're being told aren't necessarily true. Everyone has the best intentions, Jim, but the oil industry is moving so quickly to drop rig counts, increase production, and now production is allegedly dropping like a stone, but we're not seeing that in the official stats yet. So it's very difficult for anyone to go out and swing a big stick in the energy sector with investments right now. So I'm just telling everybody, if you find something that you really, really like, only buy a bit, because we don't know what the macro situation is going to be like here, even in 3-4 months, really.
Well, it looks like government statistics are becoming less and less reliable. We have the Harper government getting rid of the long-form census form, so now we don't have accurate numbers about consumers and what they're doing, how old they are, what their habits are. They take away energy prices and housing from the inflation figures, so we don't know what the real inflation rate is. Aren't governments really cheating themselves the more they try to manipulate these numbers?
Well, our Canadian government is. In the States, I think it's just they need more funding. The world does look to them, and they pride themselves on the quality of their numbers in the States, but they just need a bit more staff to keep a bit better handle on what everything's doing.
And in Canada, they're more interested in getting reelected?
Oh, Jim, this government, who I vote for no matter what, is just turning into such a disappointment. I really hope that they pull it out in this election, but we'll see.
Keith, thanks a lot for chatting with us.
Jim, God bless you. Take care.
My guest has been Keith Schaefer, editor and publisher of the Oil and Gas Investments Bulletin. His website, oilandgas-investments.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at Talk Digital Net. Check out our popular YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. Comments or questions for the show can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.